What's going on, you guys? TBR here, back yet again with another King of Fighters Allstar video, and in today's video we are going to be going over the Transcendental Battle Card System and giving you guys all of the information, tips, and tricks that you need to know in order to properly spend your resources on this new system. We're going to get into all of that and more, but before we do, make sure if you're new here and you enjoy daily King of Fighters Allstar content such as this, you smash that like button and subscribe. Now, we are going to be trying to cover as much ground in this video today as possible to give you guys as much information and tips on this system as we can. So we're going to go ahead and start off with my cards. Now, I have transcended about 10 to 12 different cards at this point, a couple of different card sets, a couple options, a couple of finishers, and you want to be pretty picky, but we'll talk more about that. So as you guys can see as an example here, this is my Dead or Alive set card, and I have this set completely maxed out at this point, and as you can see, the transcendental effect that I have on this particular card is going to be a penetration increase. Now, when it comes to these different cards, basically the reason why you're going to want to transcend your battle cards, which really transcending a battle card is akin to awakening a battle card, so if you need it in those terms to make it make more sense, then you can think of it that way, because it is very much so very similar, because as you can see from those purple stars on that card, very dissimilar from the gold stars that you're used to seeing on all of these other cards if they are not fully transcended. Basically, you're going to be able to awaken or transcend your cards up to a max level of 6 stars if it is a fest card, and 5 stars if it is a regular gold border card, as you see here with my Tekken set. So when it comes to the actual perks of this, the reason why you would want to do this is you would want to get the special effects that are going to be tied to whatever card it is you're transcending. But the differences between these different grades of cards is really going to be the cost and the max level that you can get them to. So as you saw with my DOA set, that one was at 6 stars, but with my Tekken set, that one is at 5 stars. So basically with Fest set cards, these are going to go up to a max level of 6 stars and level 60, and you're going to require 1 Fest card to feed to them in order to transcend them to the next level. And when it comes to the gold border cards or your 5-star cards, those are going to be costing you 2 of the 5-star graded cards. So basically you're going to need to feed the same grade of cards to these cards in order to do this. You can also do this with lower level cards if you want to, like your 4-star cards, and these are going to be requiring the silver cards or the 4-star cards in order to do that. So again, the same grade. I wouldn't highly recommend doing a lot of those types of cards. If you guys are on a budget and you're free to play though, and you want a good recommendation for a 5-star card, you can go ahead and do this one here if you're beginning the game and you're just trying to get your feet wet and get a really good set together. This is always going to be a really nice budget option for all of you guys, and I think that in the early days of you playing the game, it probably makes sense to go ahead and try and transcend that a little bit. But when it comes to transcending, the biggest reason why you would want to do this is these obtainable awakened skill effects. So as you guys can see, there are going to be a ton of these, and you're going to get a random roll for one of these each time you feed cards to a transcended card. So as you can see, there's going to be about 60 of these different perks. Now, the biggest reason and the biggest downside to this system is going to be this here, because there's no way to control which one of these effects you're going to get. Now, of course, this means that each time you go ahead and transcend a card, you aren't really going to have any control over which one of these you get. However, the fact that there are 60 of these effects on here, if you're really trying to go for any particular one, I think that that ends up mathing out to about 1.5% chance for you to get that particular effect. But then again, it isn't necessarily as bad as that might seem, considering the fact that there are quite a few of these effects on here that are fairly universal across a ton of different characters that might be on your roster. So therefore, you could go ahead and get one of maybe a handful of these and be just as happy. So don't go chasing specific effects and using a ton of different resources in order to try and re-roll on your cards, in my opinion, right now. This is a very end game sort of update. So in my opinion right now, you guys, if you've gotten a card fully transcended, I wouldn't go wasting a bunch of more cards on that card and trying to get any of these effects in particular. Like you'll see here, these are going to be ones that are very popular. you're not really going to have any control. So my opinion on that is, instead of just wasting more material to transcend a card and try to get a reroll on an effect, you'd probably be better off just using those resources on another card or card set, so that way you just have more options of transcended cards at your disposal for your account. Because at the end of the day, really what you were in it for is going to be those big stat boosts for things like Chapter of Fight and so on and so forth. So what I'm going to show you guys here is how we can transcend a card. So we're going to go ahead and feed 2 of these cards to this Tekken set card, and basically make sure that you guys always pick cards that you are never going to end up using, because these do get eaten by these transcended cards and you will never see them again. But once you have transcended a card, besides it leveling up, you are going to be able to pick an effect for your card. So basically, as you guys can see here, I do not have an effect yet on this card, so it's giving me the option of increasing balance type fighter shock damage by 1%. An effect is better than no effect, so of course we're going to have to pick this one. And so once we pick this one here, we are not stuck with it, but we do have to transcend the card to the next level. So to do that, as you can see, we can't just do it automatically. Much like it is when you awaken a character, you have to fully max out the level and skill of the card before you can go ahead and awaken it or transcend it to the next level. So that's what we'll do here. We'll go ahead and max out the skill, and then we'll go ahead and max out the level of the card. And again, when it comes to these cards here, these 5-star cards are going to max out at level 55 and a skill level of 6. And again, your fest cards are going to max out at a level of 6 stars and a skill level of 7. So next up here, let's go ahead and transcend to the next level. We'll go ahead and get to 2 stars here. Again, the same process, just go ahead and feed your cards. And then we get a new effect as a roll here that we could potentially have, which is going to increase balance type fighters critical rate by 1.2%. So when it comes to picking effects, you guys, unless it is a card that you specifically only ever use on one character, that way you can kind of tailor these effects to it. In my opinion, you want things that are as universal as possible. So as you guys can see there, I went ahead and picked the critical rate increase, because even though this is going to be sequestered to balance types, trust me, I would prefer to use it for a different type of character if I possibly could, but we're going to have to get lucky on the effect rolls. But then again, the crit is definitely, in my opinion, going to be better than a dot or so on and so forth. So basically, whenever you are doing these effects, whatever opens the card up to more characters, in my opinion, is going to be the better of the effects that you can choose. And that's why I went ahead and picked the crit instead of what we had before. So next up here, let's go ahead and go to level 3, and then we will get another effect, and hopefully it will be a better one. Now this one's going to increase attack type fighter shock damage by 3.8%. So this is a good example, you guys. Basically, we want to stick with the balance type fighters crit rate, because the other effect is only going to be good on not just attack type characters, but they also have to have a specific dot. And this is really where the RNG comes in, you guys, because the chances of you getting a specific effect that you're looking for, again, is very, very low. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that you should be feeding a ton of different cards to your cards in order to just keep re-rolling effects, because again, it does get very expensive, especially if we're talking about 6-star cards, because trying to feed those cards more 6-star cards, even if it is half the cost at 1, it is very expensive. Now, here's our next effect. We can increase attack type fighters HP by 2.8%. We're actually going to go ahead and pick this one here. Only reason I'm doing that one is because, to be honest with you guys, I'm probably going to be ending up using this set on my Kyo anyway. So we're just going to go ahead and go with that one. But you guys can go ahead and re-roll these things at your own risk. It's up to you. I don't really know if you guys have a whole lot of these resources at your disposal. That's really going to be up to you to assess on your end. But I just think that that asterisk needs to be put next to this system, because right now with the RNG the way that it is and the amount of possibilities in that pool, again, as you guys see here, another effect that we wouldn't want to have because it's for defensive types and burn damage, you're going going to end up getting those more often than not, and again, you'll end up just wasting a ton of different resources, especially once a card is fully maxed out. So we're going to finish maxing this card out here. So once you have maxed out a card, right, after you've done that, of course you can't transcend to another awakening level or another transcendent level, whatever you want to call it. Now that this card is at awakening level 5, it is not going to transcend any further. However, if you want to continue feeding cards to a fully transcended card, that is a possibility, and it is something that you can do if you really want to. But if you go in here, it's the same system as always. You just go in, you feed 2 cards to it. It won't upgrade to another star level because it's already maxed out. However, what will happen is you will be able to go ahead and pick another effect. So this is basically how you're going to be able to continue to reroll effects. And again, these are all RNG based. It's always just going to come down to your luck at the time. But that's basically how you can do this, you guys. And that is why I don't necessarily recommend going overboard with this. Again, I think it's better to spread the love, especially with the amount of CP gains that you're going to see from all of your cards whenever they are fully transcended. I think that it is a better shot and a better utilization of your materials if you just go ahead and parlay those into another card or card set or whatever the case may be, and just go from there. So in the end, when it comes to these effects, this is really the biggest downside to this entire system. As you guys can see, my Tekken cards do have some pretty nice effects for my Kyo. Some of them do, some of them don't, but overall I do think that I have a full set that is going to at least give him some sort of beneficial stat buff. And really that's all it comes down to when you're doing this. You just want to try and open these effects up to as many characters as possible, because that'll just offer you a lot more utility in general for your investment. Now when it comes to the skill effects that I would be chasing, you guys, really the ones that I think are going to be the best ones are going to be ones that give a flat attack bump to a specific type of character, and then the ones that are going to give a flat crit bump or penetration bump. Those are going to be the ones that I feel like are definitely going to be the best. However, there are some out there that are going to also be buffing your specific dot damage. Now those can be really good too, but again, that does start to kind of restrain the amount of options that you have. So it really just comes down to what you're wanting to do with your account. However, I do think that those previously mentioned effects are going to be the best ones to chase. So that is pretty much going to be this system in general, you guys. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of the Transcendental Battle Card System. I know it is a little bit controversial. However, I do think that it is one of those things that over time could end up growing on people. But let me know in the comments section. Like, share, and subscribe if you found it informative. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Continue.